sorry, I've just left that there. You can use that if you want.
Okay. All right. G'day, everyone. We might get underway just so that we've got a lot of good speakers to come, so we want to make sure we're on time. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sustainable Agriculture and Soil Health stream at the National Landcare Conference here on the beautiful Gold Coast. As we gather here today, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Komameri Ngunnawal people of the Gold Coast, and thank Max for his beautiful welcome to country this morning. And I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nations people that might be in the room today. Look, Landcare's really always been about working with the land, and we recognise that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the original land carers, and we acknowledge the knowledge and practices that have sustained this continent for tens of thousands of years. And we thank First Nations people for their generosity in sharing that wisdom and for helping us to learn and listen more closely to country and to manage it more thoughtfully and effectively. So I'm James Link. I'm from Landcare Australia. Don't let the ponytail fool you. I've pulled plenty of calves in my time. I've carted many bales of hay. I do live in Melbourne now, but grew up in West Gippsland on a cattle farm. And I'm delighted to be hosting this with Ange Hammond, our Landcare Ag Manager today. So Ange, you'll hear from Ange shortly. But before we begin with our first speaker, I'd just like to introduce Tim again, who you've just heard from on the panel in the main room. Tim will give you a few words from Rabobank.
Thanks, James. Yeah, g'day. So, for those that didn't hear me this morning, I'm Tim Dellett, Senior Manager, Sustainability Finance at Rabobank. So, we're really pleased to be the sponsor of the Sustainable Ag and Soil Health stream at this year's conference. Sustainability as a topic, in banking a few years ago was kind of like the sideshow, but the reality is it is the main show, and it needs to be. If you think about Australia, agriculture accounts for 55% of land use, 74% of water consumption. As Fiona mentioned this morning, we have to think about food security. 80% of all ag production gets exported. So the task is, how do you respond to a changing environment? How do you continue to grow? How do you support landholders, First Nations communities make sensible decisions and thrive in a changing environment? So really pleased. It's got some great discussion this morning. Thanks and welcome.
Thanks very much, Tim. And we're delighted to have Rabobank supporting Landcare again and being involved in our industry as they are. And thanks so much, James, our calf-pulling greenie from Melbourne. It's great. It's really nice in Landcare. Being the manager of the ag program, it's great because we've got this really green element in Landcare, obviously, and we've also got a really brown element. That's why it was started 35 years ago, to bring these elements all together. They're not different, but, the combination of the knowledge is really important. So thanks, James. Thanks, Tim. So this stream today is all about innovations in agriculture, practical, science-based, community-driven. So good to see so many of you here that are involved in that, particularly Wayne Chaffee from the Tamworth area and other people in the room. Today's lineup features some game-changing speakers. These people are really brave. They are the people that are trying new things and are happy to share the experiences. Sometimes things don't quite work out the way that you want. Often they do, but they're very happy to share the experience. So we build our knowledge and our confidence to engage and continue with these new innovative practices. We want to acknowledge these early adopters. They're really important. If we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got, won't we? So it's these early adopters that are going, okay, let's look at these new ways, let's try these things, let's not be scared, let's not have analysis paralysis, let's be thoughtful and try new things. So I want you all to think about the commonality with some of these talks that are going to be happening today and tomorrow. Think about the connections and think about how they might relate to your own community, your own landscape, and take some of these ideas home, and also just grow from the energy and the innovation that's happening in this room over the next 2 days, because it will be truly inspiring. Our speakers, our lineup of speakers, have inspired me from when I first saw the lineup. It's an amazing lineup of speakers. So please take away ideas and thoughts, and particularly opportunities to collaborate. So with that, I will now introduce our first speaker for the next 2 days. So that is Fred McGrath, and I'm just watching Tim and Fred and James. It's a bit like Costa at the beginning of the day, very athletically leaping up on the stage. I'm sure Fred will do that and show me up as I totter down the stairs. But yep, Fred is our first speaker. So I'll just give a quick intro to Fred as he comes up. So Fred and his family have a business called Majura Valley Farm in the ACT. So they're showing how regenerative agriculture can be combined with agro-tourism to both restore landscapes and connect communities. Very important. From rotational grazing and soil building practices to creative initiatives like their sunflower maze and their farm gate shop, Majura Valley demonstrates that sustainability and economic resilience can go hand in hand. They have to go hand in hand, don't they, to work. Today, Fred will share how this approach to strengthening soils, supporting biodiversity and inspiring people to engage directly with farming is having positive impacts. Thanks, Fred. And so I think you're up with that. Yep, you're okay.
Yeah, so you already got a bit of an introduction about me. My name is Fred and we're from Majura Valley Farm, and today I'll be sharing how we've combined regenerative farming with agritourism and placemaking and what landcare groups and farmers can learn from it. So I'll just start off with a little bit of who we are, and you'll see Zoe McMahon in the room as well. She's my partner, so if you've got any questions, I'll try and get a bit of time at the end, but you can also find us throughout the conference as well and have a chat to her. And yeah, so we're a family-run farm, led a lot by our mum, McGrath, on the left-hand side there. And we're close by the city of town, and on Majura House, which is one of the oldest farms in the ACT. And I guess our vision and values, which I've included, and these what anchor us as a team. So we need like a clear vision to guide some of our decision making, whether it's about land management, events, or working with others. And I approach this from a background in holistic management. And you probably see Helen Lewis around here as well. So shout out to Helen and the Sabre Institute. I'm an educator with that group, and that's a great community to be a part of as well. And for our farming, it is about that balance between productivity and caring with the environment and making sure that's sustainable. And then we've also got being productive, creative and innovative, and being safe to trial, and also having place, produce and people is really key. So our farm is on 50 hectares on Canberra's urban fringe. And it's heritage listed, so it's one of the oldest properties in the ACT. So that's really important for what we do, and we see ourselves as stewards on the land. And another part of what we do is 10% of our property we've put back as woodlands, and we're supporting a lot of bird species and like environmental corridors and things like that as well. So you can see that aerial view from our farm, and we're really focused on continuing on with that tradition and maintaining that long farming history. And that all feeds back into our mixed farming approach, where we're integrating livestock and crops and trees into a model that works for us. So that also comes back to what we do with our mobile chicken shed. So the mobile chicken sheds are really the core of what we do on our farm. these sheds move around the paddocks and they're regenerating the soils as they go. The chickens are like incredible for the soil health and absolutely magic. They get out there, their droppings are falling onto the ground, they're eradicating weeds. What you see in these photos here is the corn crop that the chickens have gone through, so we're getting that production from the corn, but we're moving those sheds around. And a build-up of effluent, which might be a problem for a lot of businesses, is a good thing for us because we're spreading that around the paddock. And we're really focused on the animal welfare of the chickens, so all the food and water's inside the shed. So threats like the avian influenza aren't really an issue for us because of that. Sure, you do sacrifice some potential productivity gains because, you know, the stocking density is probably 3-4 times as much on a footprint of a shed that size of what we have, but we're really focused on the co-benefits and that animal welfare. And I guess that's part of what we're really focused on today, and that's a foundation of why we're focused on what we do on our farm. And when we feel like we're investing in the landscape and that soil health and biodiversity, we're not just improving the farm, but we're building resilience and well-being into the wider community. And that's really the foundation of everything else I'll be sharing here today, that thriving landscapes and thriving communities, I think, are inseparable and they need to work hand in hand. And one of the best ways we've found to do that is connecting people with the idea through placemaking and turning a working farm into a place that people want to be part of. So placemaking, if people aren't aware, I found this quote which I think is quite a good summary and quite poignant of what I think is an excellent definition of placemaking, because it's about creating places that people feel connected to, and that connection is building long-term support and authentic connection. And I kind of come back to this as, I'm a sculptor and went to art school, and so I built these chickens on our farm gate shop, and even little things like that you can do in different areas are a good way of, I guess, creating a place or creating a destination or a landmark on a particular journey that helps people connect to farming and agriculture. And one of the key ways that we've really done this placemaking activation and work is through our farm gate shop. And my mum's from Tumbarumba, so Batlow and a lot of these farming areas, you'd have the roadside shop and selling apples. So 15 years ago, that's how we started, with this little mobile shop at the farm gate shop selling eggs. And then from that, we've built a permanent structure that is in keeping with that heritage and the environment, but now it's a bit of a hub for other local producers, and we can not just sell our products but other local farmers as well, and create a bit of a destination for people to come to. And then one of the biggest things is the sunflower maize that we do on our property. And on the left-hand side, you can see that we've got some corn there, we've got the chicken sheds, we've got a little sunflower maize at the front gate. And that started with a $20 bag of bird seed, and Mum and my sister planting that crop, and now it's grown to over 25,000 people attending this year. So similarly, like building on that too, it didn't just start overnight with that many numbers. We were having pick your own corn and sunflowers at the front gate shop over several years, and starting small and it boomed off from there. So that comes back to that place, produce, people. So the place, farm as a destination, produce, looking at that paddock to plate, and people, the storytelling and relationships. And this slide, I think, is a good summary of how we can really look at that way that the farm and our mobile chicken sheds and everything we do with the focus on regenerative agriculture and holistic management and everything like that can all work hand in hand with agritourism activities. So, on that 1 hectare of land, throughout the year, we're not just focused on, the sunflowers. It's part of the whole mixed farming approach. So we've got the mobile chicken sheds moving around those paddocks along with the cattle, and we're focused on the birds and the bees as well before we get ready to plant again and it all starts again. And what we're really focused on during that period of time when we're not doing the agritourism is that plant diversity, ground cover, and building that soil life. So on the left-hand side, you see when the chickens have come through and the soil looks quite bare, and you can see the sunflower stalks on the surface as well. But after a few weeks, the diversity of grasses and everything starts coming through, and that ground coverage, and that's really what we're really focused on and because we're getting so much foot traffic and everything like that as well. So one of the key things that we're trying to do is build that resilience into our soil and landscape, which then feeds through into creating a better experience for the people that come to our farm, but also for our long-term resilience. And I guess some of the key statistics, and I won't go into all of these, but the numbers, I guess, tell you the impact is real and people are connecting with nature. They're learning about nature. They're learning about farming. And they're coming far and wide to experience that. But it's also about how people engage day to day through their food they eat, the hands-on experiences they have, and the stories that they can take home. So I'll share a few examples with you, like what that could look like in practice for your own places. So, farm to table, that's something that we really focus on as well, that every plate tells a story. So people want to know where their food comes from and be proud of it. Farm to table is one of the most important ways to connecting people and farming in place. So people have pride in the food that they put on their plates, whether that's a carton of eggs, and we got such a strong brand in Canberra because of that, or a Christmas lunch and sharing that experience. Hands-on experiences, and people, they don't want to witness, they want to participate, and they want to have that hands-on experience, and they want to learn, and that whole learning process makes it all more memorable as well. So when people are milking it, they're picking it, they're making it or tasting it, they're forming a deeper connection with farming and nature. So that could be through the pick your own flowers that we do through the sunflower maze, or even just as simple as giant Jenga, or like the nature play and everything like that. Like people in urban areas don't really have the same experiences as we might on farms and different things. So how can you bring people to farms? The next slide is about unique stays and people wanting to go to places with souls. It's not just about a place to sleep. So there's a sense of peace that you can't find in the city. So how can you tap into that? How can you tap into that value proposition that you're not going to get from a hotel? And this is a photo taken from Stephen Pickard, one of our neighbours. And in the background, you've got the winery and the truffle farm, both of which do farm stay accommodation. Even as simple as just seeing a kangaroo is a big experience for some people. So, you think about what that could be and how people can get immersed in nature. And then finally, workshops and events. So looking at workshops and seasonal events to help us celebrate the rhythms of farming and the skills that come with it, and what partnerships and collaborations that you could do as well. So these events could be small and powerful but build community. So looking at those knowledge sharing opportunities. On the right hand side, that's a workshop we did with a local florist that Zoe organised, and that's just a simple bouquet flower arranging workshop. But it's on farm, it's more immersed in nature, so it feels more authentic. And similarly, that's Mum just taking a local NRM group on a tour of the farm and showing some of her restoration work that she's done in the creek corridor. So, it could even just be as simple as a farm tour or a workshop about some of the successes and things that you've learned on your farm. So I guess some of the key takeaways are championing your local area, and working together. Someone's probably not going to come to a remote area just to go to a cafe, unless it's exceptional. Perhaps they might. But, you know, where can they stay? What else could they do while they're there? Whose farm could they go to for a tour? What are the other opportunities that you can have to work together to create a bit of a destination, which feeds into those destination networks? Our relationship with Visit Canberra, our peak tourism body, is great. And it's really cool to see, like, you know, you're championed to help grow that visibility of Canberra and the tourism and attract people to come to the city. So, you know, those relationships and the marketing and visibility that can create is something to really tap into and have those conversations. And often there's grants and things that you can tap into as well. And finally, engaging mentors. I think that's really important. And we've had some good success working with people like Helen Lewis, Stuart Goodfellow, Rose, I forgot her last name, but Regenerative, who's from this type of area as well. There's been lots of really good people that have supported us along the way. As a quick note, biosecurity is obviously a concern, but a lot of these risks can be mitigated and can form part of the education pathway. Like, we've had experiences, people walking all around the farm in our early years, but you know, now we're putting up signage, and you can do that in a creative way that educates people about where the barriers are, and even simple things like a foot bath can tell a story about, you know, and that's another tactile experience that people have. So I'll also just touch on the visual identity, and building a strong brand and building that trust is something to really think about if you're going to go down this pathway, and, you know, websites, social media and consistent messaging, and telling that story as well about who you are, and again, coming back to people, place and produce. So I think we're nearly at the end, but in conclusion, it's about telling your story. How much time do we have for questions?
A few minutes.
Oh, sweet. So people want to know about who they are, who you are, and what makes you do what you do. So again, coming back to that brand identity and marketing and telling your story, and storytelling is really important in marketing, and inviting community in on the farm, because people want to be a part of that journey, and the stronger the support for farming and land care. And, you know, we find that really critical for where we are in our particular context, and being so close to the city and potential threat for development or different things, having that connection in those peri-urban areas with the community so they feel a part and they feel the value of what you're doing on your farm. And also balancing the economy with the environment, because you can't have one without the other, and if you look after the land, it will look after you. So, you know, our story is just one example, but hopefully those principles can be applied everywhere, and healthy farms can grow more than food, but community and connection. Thank you.
Hi, thanks. Very, very interesting to hear all the aspects that you add into the farm business. Obviously, that's a lot more sort of workload and organisation in addition to just the standard farm. How do you guys manage the priorities around that, or how did you have to adjust to factor that work into the business?
I mean, we bring in casual staff and, you know, tap into our broader family network and everything to support. And I guess similar to what I touched on, what we're doing, we're listening to the rhythms of the farm and things as well. So we're doing that sunflower maize in March. And then after that, you got the natural break with winter and things, which is, you know, after a few weeks of being smashed with all the people and stuff, you're kind of happy to have that natural break with farming that winter brings. So I guess building in that seasonality and then, yeah, the complementary skill sets and things too. Like I myself and Zoe probably lead more of that sunflower maize and that agritourism activities, but my mum and a lot of the others, my brother and sister, and their strengths lie more in probably the day-to-day farm management side of things. So, finding what people are interested in and complementing that and finding support where you can.
Congratulations, Fred. Heard Zoe yesterday, so fantastic. Going great guns in making farms more accessible and learning opportunities for people in cities and other communities, urban communities. I guess my question is, you've already made great inroads in developing a raft of things for your farm. What's next?
Probably the next steps will probably just be building some permanent infrastructure where you'll be able to run workshops and events and different things in calendar round, and then looking at a changing climate, how you can be a bit more resilient, and then just investing in different infrastructure to manage those risks, such as water infrastructure or things, so you can continue with what we're doing, and obviously continue with the tree plantings and different activities that we do that build the resilience of the whole farm.
Fred, Jeff Rollinson from Warrnambool Coast Care Landcare Network in southwest Victoria. In our region, we've got a number of farmers moving slowly to the regenerative model. In some cases, they've started WhatsApp groups and whatever, but key thing or key opportunity seems to be neighbouring farmers who look at what you're doing, and have they looked, and have you had that sort of, I guess, positive effect of moving them to more your style of farming? So have your neighbours noticed you, basically?
Yeah, well, I think some of our neighbours are pretty good and pretty open-minded, and in the ACT it's actually quite good. Our NRM has the funding through the Future Drought Fund and different things, and does a lot of support around regen farming, and they're very much focused on that. And the ACT, quite small in terms of the farming community, but it still makes up 15% of the land mass, so it's still quite important. So I think there's definitely a bit of a shift and awareness of that locally, and yeah, and even within our own business, like, Mum gets it from the mobile shed side of things. She loves and understands that rotational grazing and the holistic management, but we're still learning and getting there with the sheep and cattle, and how we can invest in that infrastructure and improve all the fencing, and it is a long journey, and using technology like electric fencing and things like that as well. But I think start trialing and doing a few things here and there, and eventually you start to see the results and how it starts to impact on your whole business and profitability. So
One more question.
Have you seen any flow-on effects from the sunflowers as like a cover crop? Are they better for pollinators? Do you see more birds coming in? Is it better for the soil?
yeah, so the question was about sunflowers and the flow-on effects with birds and bees and benefits to the soil. We haven't done any soil testing and things to say, but in that particular area, that's something we need to improve on. But yeah, definitely that you love to see after you have all the agritourism side of things, and all the parrots and even the cockatoos and all the different native birds and things coming through, and enjoying the sunflower maize afterwards. And then obviously the bees and everything are always there, and then the soil itself. I think a lot of people have said, oh, you can't keep planting sunflowers in the same spot. Eventually you're not going to have a yield, but we haven't really run into that issue yet. So whether or not that's just and Bruce might be able to talk more about that, whether that's just a condition of the way that cropping's done in a particular way, or whether that will eventually happen to us. But yeah, nothing to date so far. Thank you.